Hey guys, Mitch Brisker here, and welcome back to Scientology, The Big Lie. Forgot to check my settings. I'll do that in a second. Anyway, if you're new here, thanks. Today is, we're nearing the end of National Human Trafficking and Slavery Prevention Month. So I thought we should take a look at one of the world's more noted human rights abusers, the Church of Scientology. Stick around, this is going to be good.
If you fail to understand, then the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
Okay, guys, here we go. And as per usual, I'm a little bit disorganized, but that's my brand. Let me just check my settings real quick because I did not have a chance to do that. And let me know if you're having any difficult. Oh, we got the wrong mic. Hold on one second. Okay, that should be better. Actually, sound much better now. Sorry about that. One of these days, I'll have it together. So here we go. So in honor of Human Trafficking and Slavery Prevention Month, I wanted to take a look at one particular Scientologist by the name of Marisol Nichols. Let me just pull up her. Let me just pull up her website. Okay. So this is Marisol's website. So who is Marisol Nichols? She's a Scientologist. She got into Scientology in the midst of a personal crisis, which is something she discussed with me. I met her originally a long time ago when she was not that long into Scientology. And she was beginning to be a working actress, and because she'd had a past history of drug use, I was interviewing her about Narconon. She was kind of fronting for Narconon for a bit, not as heavily as Kirstie Alley was, but I did some interviews with her, and most currently she's noted for her work on, what's that TV show, Riverdale, based on the Archie comics. I've never seen it. I don't watch those shows. So that's Marisol Nichols. I'm curious if you guys are aware of her activities in Scientology, how committed she is in Scientology. I'm just curious. Hey, Christy Nicole, hello. Thanks for coming by. Kaz, hello. Good to see you. Thanks. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys. That you're so willing to just be here, and because I need, these are things I feel I really need to report and really talk about. A lot of these people I knew very well. And just that there's an audience that's willing to bear witness to my experiences, I can't tell you, it really means a lot. Do me a favor, put a 1 in the chat if you actually were aware of that Marisol Nichols is a Scientologist. I'd really like to know, because I have no idea. So let me just go back to her website here. So she founded this group. She has a podcast. She is where the hell is it? Hollywood vigilante. So she calls herself a Hollywood vigilante because she actually goes on like ride-alongs when they, bust children who've been forced into sex work out of whatever bondage they're being kept in. So yeah, she focuses on sex trafficking while enabling an organization that's deeply involved with human trafficking for labor and not for sex. Although, there's been cases where someone may have been, I know of one particular case, an allegation that was told to me personally that I helped this person report to authorities, where she was sent to a foreign country. She's a serial worker, sent to a foreign country, a passport taken away, essayed by some very high people, individual at the top of Scientology. And so that would be sex trafficking, because she was sent there. Doesn't matter what the purpose was. She got sent there, forced to have sex, a passport taken away. So I'm not saying that they're not involved, but it's not their thing. Like Marisol Nichols is going after people who that's their thing. And I think it's pretty significant because no place on her, she founded this, what is it called? It says here it is. Marisol Nichols is one of the celebrities fighting against human trafficking, spoke out about her undercover work with LA Mag. She infiltrated a human trafficking ring and helped to bring traffickers to justice. Well, she's giving her money to a human trafficking ring, so I don't really. It's a little hypocritical. It's that, and I'm not taking anything. Her activism against human trafficking is actually legit. But it's the hypocrisy that we're pointing out here. Some of it's maybe not as legit as we think, but I'm trying to think of the name. She founded this it's got to be here somewhere. God, I did not have time to take notes. Sorry. Slavery Free World. That's it. She founded an organization called Slavery Free World. Slavery might seem like an ancient concept that died down as soon as the age of exploration was shut down, but in truth, and blah, blah, blah. She's going to talking it up. Now, this isn't it, but no place on this website does it mention anything about about her involvement with Scientology. And fair enough. There's a lot of people that don't have to bring their quote unquote religion into it, but it's just the fact that so few of them do, and yet their own personal identities are so wrapped up in it. So anyway, let's just continue on here. But so there's nothing on here anywhere. I looked through this site. There's nothing on here anywhere, and she about Scientology, and she rarely does, represent Scientology. So. And I have no reason to believe she's left Scientology, believe me not, because here's a photo. If you look in the center of the screen, there's a photo of she's sitting next to who looks like a Sea Org worker. That looks like a Sea Org uniform. I don't know the neckerchief, which is, I guess Miscavige decided to bring back that style from the 60s or something. The woman sitting next to her dressed like a flight attendant, wearing the little name tag, is absolutely in the garb of a Sea Org worker. And if you look over Marisol's head, she's just a camera right. You'll see Youth for Human Rights International. So I'm assuming this is some kind of a human rights confab where she's there talking about Youth for Human Rights International. So what exactly is human rights, the Youth for Human Rights International? Well, let's take a look at their website, because I'm going to break it down for you, because I know a lot of you may have heard about it. So this is, let's just back up a second here. Oops. Okay, so this is Mary Shuttleworth. She is the woman who founded Youth for Human Rights. Now, so Youth for Human Rights, I don't have any, I didn't pull anything up on this, but Youth for Human Rights, the whole idea of it is not long after World War II, Eleanor Roosevelt came up with this thing called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's like a UN edict, I guess, and this is has no force of law, because obviously the UN doesn't, although they do have the power to respond militarily and as peacekeepers in some situations. But so the idea was that these are the human rights. I forget how many there are. It was at least 20. That everybody on the earth is entitled to, and the UN was just going to make a statement and say, this is it. And so then sometime later, Mary Shuttleworth decided, her Scientologist, grew up during apartheid in South Africa, so she certainly knows about human rights abuses. She spearheaded this program called Youth for Human Rights. And she received Scientology's highest accolade for the public, which is she was a freedom of medal winner. And, like the one that Tom Cruise got. I'm sure you all remember what that was all about. Okay, good. So now let's go on. Now this gets the plot thickens here. So then who is Mary Shuttleworth other than that? Well, I don't know if you guys are aware of it, because I think it's gone. But on L. Ron Hubbard Way, there was, maybe the building's still there. You can see that this is, okay, let me share that tab. You got that tab? Yeah, good. This is Mary Schoolhouse. You can see this is on L. Ron Hubbard Way. It's on across the street from ASHO, actually, the American St. Hill organization. And this was a school, a Scientology-run school based on Scientology principles, run by a Scientologist. And there, over the years, have been some unproven allegations where some things went on that were possibly illegal with children and so forth. Most notably, the only allegation that I'm really aware of is, oh, and I should show here that if you go to Applied Scholastics website, Applied Scholastics, that is the front group for Scientology's learning component that they're always trying to export to schools and da 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 da. So if you go to their website and you look it up, you'll find Mary Schoolhouse. You can see there it's still listed. Let me share it. Sorry about that, guys. This is the Applied Scholastics website, and you can see it's according to Google, it's shut down, permanently closed, but it's still listed here. It's Mary Schoolhouse, the Shuttleworth Academy. Now, one of the more noted allegations that I heard about Mary Schoolhouse was that Mary's son, when he was about 8 years old, was involved in some inappropriate behavior with some of the other students, the little girls, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, it's an allegation, but I've heard it enough times from credible sources and heard about the ways in which this followed him around and prevented him from doing certain things in Scientology. And so, but who is this person that her son? Well, he grew up to be this guy. And you got that one? Yeah, I just have to double check. This is Taron Lexton. His name, that's a brand name that he changed his name to because he thought it, I don't know, sounded sexier or more like a filmmaker. Apparently he didn't like the name Shuttleworth. So this is Taron, and this is his website. He's a film director. I met him in, I don't remember when, but he when his mother was traveling around the world doing Youth for Human Rights, he was following her around with a camera, taking video, and then he took a bunch of that video, turned it into a music video. The music video found its way to gold. Then they started paying him to shoot her, his mom, doing her Youth for Human Rights thing, so they could use the footage in these, fake documentaries that they would show to raise money. So, and then sometimes when they couldn't get someone from Gold, like one of the Gold crew, or now, which is the S&P crew now, but back then the Gold crew, when they weren't available, they'd send Taron. He was kind of like what do you call it? A ringer, like a stand-in. Like if you can't get somebody, there's a word for it in journalism for the guy who kind of, he's like a floater. He covers all kinds of different things. So anyway, Taron came up. He was about 19. I sponsored him, and he made this proposal to. So anyway, before I get into that, here's another one. This kid grew up in Scientology. I don't know where he is on the bridge to total freedom, but here he is. And he did a movie for Nancy Cartwright. He directed it. So there's this kind of bubble. It's this like human rights warrior bubble inside of Scientology, which people have no idea what they're sponsoring. And look, I have to just say, I'm just going to stop right now and say it that. Let me just take this off of here real quick. I have to say it's way more difficult talking about people you knew and that you were actually friendly with, and that they're good people. They're just so lost and deluded, and brainwashed into a cult that they would not believe that it practices human trafficking to begin with, and they think we're all just crazy for even suggesting it. But I had to really tell myself, you need to be very objective about this because you're going to be biased in their favor, and you're going to want to overcompensate for that and just clobber them, and you can't do either. You just need to be very objective. So I'm going to do my best to do that. Okay, so I want to just sorry about that. I just need to go back to that. Okay, so the thing I wanted to point out is, once again, just like Marisol, there's no mention of Scientology anywhere on here. Yet this guy did so much work. I mean, I sponsored him as a director up there, so he was kind of under my wing. I was hoping I could groom him to take over for me because I wanted to get the hell out of there. So I was always looking for people. I wanted to do it per the Scientology policy of being ethical about it, which means, you find a replacement. You don't create a problem for the organization because you left. There's nothing on here about Scientology, and yet he did, the multi-hour film from the book Fundamentals of Thought. He was the main director on the Way to Happiness film that I produced, and he did all of the human rights. He did a documentary on human rights for the Youth for Human Rights campaign, and then he did a whole bunch of these quote-unquote PSAs, which they're not PSAs, because if they were PSAs, TV stations would choose them to show for free, and they only pay for them. And then you can see like this little dancing. This is an ad he did. He did a bunch of ads for ABC Mouse, which was owned by wealthy Scientologist Doug Doring, who was one of their biggest donors before he died, father of Jason Doring. And so they're here. There's a bunch of work for them. This wasn't a Scientology-run company, but it was a company that made him that made Doug Doring a fortune, and he gave a lot of that money to Scientology. But there's nothing here. There's just there's nothing about Scientology. These guys, they never talk about it. I mean, I'm sure if you went to Steven Spielberg's website, it's not going to talk about Judaism. I don't know, maybe it does, but we all know that he's Jewish, and we all know he did Schindler's List, and it's a settled matter, and nobody cares. And that's that. But this is, it's different with Scientology because they're very controversial, and there's sort of a lot of curiosity. And wouldn't it be good for Scientology to should spread the word that people, they've got talented people. He's a talented director. I won't take that away from him. I mean, I think his work is mostly eye candy. It's kind of not very, there's no real substance to it, but that's just my personal opinion. But he's definitely talented to have taken over for me. And he did at S&P when I left there, at least for a while. I think he left because he didn't want to work there any more than I did. So that's that. So that I just want to hop back here to this Youth for Human Rights thing. So this, and I have a very important question I want to ask you guys when we're done here. Okay, so let me see. What am I looking for? Videos. I'm looking for, okay, so we're back at Youth for Human Rights. I'm looking for videos. I'm going to go down here and, nope, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for one of these. Okay, here they are. So there's all these films about, I'm going to play the first one. Let me see. Do we have this? Yeah, we have this. Okay, good. I'm going to play one of these, and they're short. Bear with me. I have a very important question I want to ask you all when it's done.
Can you tell which of these children was not born free? Can you tell which of these children was not born equal? Can you tell which of these children does not deserve to be treated with dignity? We can't either. Human right number one. We are all born free and equal.
Okay, so
.org.
Okay, so if this came from any other organization, it would be fine. There's nothing wrong with the message, because after all, this is from Eleanor Roosevelt's declaration. It's based on that, except it's been adapted for kids. It's just for youth. But it wouldn't bother me at all if this was from any other organization, if this is from Amnesty International. It's just that it's from the Church of Scientology, which is toxic to children, even if it never lays a hand on them. It's just the way that it sees children really messes up their development. I know this for a fact because I raised 2 kids in Scientology who are both doing great, fortunately. But that's really why it bugs me so much, not because it's not a good message or good work. Let me see. Oh, and so what does she have to do with, what does this have to do with Marisol Nichols? Well, Marisol Nichols was married to Taron Lexton, so this is an announcement of their divorce. This is from 2018. So yeah, they were married. He was married to Marisol Nichols. And so Mary Shuttleworth was this woman who started the Youth for Human Rights campaign was her mother-in-law for a time. They're no longer married. Okay, hold on. I didn't, you can't see this I'm talking about. So here, let me just show it to you. So yeah, here is Taron and Marisol, and this is their announcement in Us magazine that they were ending their marriage. Okay, so that's that. So these people, this all ties together. This is also very, very much a kind of an incestuous relationship. And you've got, like I said, you have this sort of bubble of this kind of human rights bubble. And by the way, Marisol's very involved in Scientology. I mean, she was a common contributor to the Christmas Stories benefit at Celebrity Center every year, where they raise money for the Hollywood precinct, the LAPD, to make sure that they'll keep doing their bidding. You know, they get to rub their noses in the butts of like celebrities, and they get some money, and then, you know, they're just a phone call away if they need help. There's protesters out front, help. So anyway, her work with her anti-slavery work has not been without controversy, because she spent time hooked up with this guy, Tim Ballard. If you Google them together, you'll see that he appeared on her podcast. But if you go to her there it is. This is Tim Ballard's Wikipedia page that you may hold on. I need to share this. Hold on 1 second. Okay, hold on. I gotta lost my place. Okay, this is Tim Ballard's Wikipedia page. He may that name may be familiar to you. He was played in that film. What the hell was it called? It was called. Oh, I know this is horror. Anyway, that movie with Jim Caviezel, who played this guy who went and busted kids out of sex slavery. That I just can't think of the name right now. It totally escaped me. Anyway, so she hooked up. And Tim Ballard was later accused of inappropriate of SA by some of his employees. So she kind of distanced herself from him, because he turned out to be like, you know, and then I saw her face, and now I'm an abuser. He turned out to be one of those guys. So if you look at her website, which if we just go back to her website and you look at her podcast and you look at the guests, you'll see Tim Ballard is just somehow just didn't make the list of guests on her podcast. I never saw him on there, but I have a feeling she took it off because it was just like really bad PR. So anyway, that's pretty much that deal. And there was something else I want to tell you. Now I'm forgetting about it. Yeah. So that's the deal. That's I think maybe I did cover it all. So that's the deal. I mean, we have. Let me see. Today's the 29th. We have another day. How many days in January? It's like. But anyway, we got another day or two of the anti-trafficking and slavery prevention month. And I thought it's time we really needed to call these out. So let me look at these. Yeah, I think I got all of the. But tell me, just do me a favor. Tell me in the chat, would that quote unquote PSA, that Youth for Human Rights thing, would that have bothered you if you just saw that? In the end, that it just had a card that said support human rights, and maybe it was underneath that little thing that said brought to you by the US AID. Oh, I'm sorry, Trump shut them down. The company, the part of the US government that would put out messaging like that. Yeah, would that bother you? Would it actually really bother you? Okay, good. Let's look at some of these here. So Kaz says, Kirsty Nichols said, no, sir. And I think that would be the answer to if they knew about that. And this is, Kaz said no. And to be honest, I've never heard of her. Yeah, I mean, if you're in the WB, I think that was a WB show, wasn't it? Because don't they do all those kind of shows? But if you're in that sort of Riverdale universe, you absolutely would know who she was. And she was a big enough name to be, get a lot of coverage, lifestyle coverage, home and mother and in various different, magazines like Us and People and stuff like that. So she was definitely out there. And Left Food Kitchen said, She seems to be so under the radar as an actress. I only know of her because she's a Scientologist. I have no idea whether I've actually seen her in anything on TV. Well, that's because, and she's a decent actress, I have to say. I've worked with her. It's not that I don't like any of these people. It's just I just want them to leave and just stop enabling this cult. These are people that I never considered abusers. These are people that I consider enablers. But I think she's part of a very segmented audience. If you're an audience for certain types of content, television, movie content, then you wouldn't know all about her. She's very well known. And yeah, nobody's heard of her. Okay. And Kaz says, it really astounds me that these people keep their heads buried in the sand. They seem to really want to help people, but have blinders on already Scientology. Well, yeah, that's because our perception of the world shifts based on what we believe in. They see things according to how we believe. We don't see things how they are. This is one of the great kind of challenges and struggles in life when we're trying to get at the truth of something, is how much is our own programming, how much is our own indoctrination, how much is our own, the stuff we've been fed and so forth. And Scientology is very clever, and I'm sure she was inspired to move forward with her anti-slavery campaign because of her work in Scientology. Here, let's just go back. I want to show you something. I'm just going to show you the beginning of something here. No, that's not it. Hold on, just give me a second. I want to show. She narrated a documentary. Oh yeah, this is it. I believe this is it right here. Here, hold on. I'm going to share this with you real quick. Yeah, this is it right here. Okay. It's already started playing. I don't really give a shit because this is the part before her narration happens. Let me share this. Okay. I don't know why the sound isn't on there.
Human rights is
okay, can you hear this? Hold on.
Geez, that's a good question.
Yeah,
Human
okay.
rights. Well, that's a tough one.
Wow.
So they did this. I'm going to turn this down a little bit
I
because it's just
don't even
annoying.
know how to give that a definition.
I'm just good.
The rights
Okay.
that humans have.
That's a very large debate.
To mind take.
Tú le puedes preguntar a 20 personas y te van a dar 20 diferentes opiniones.
Non saprei, una domanda complicatissima.
We just take them for granted that they're there, but we don't even consider what they are.
There's nothing wrong with any of this. It's just that it's being done by the Church of Scientology. Now you're going to hear Marisol's going to come in and she's going to narrate this thing because this was directed.
Human rights are the rights you have simply because you're human. It's how you instinctively expect and deserve to be treated as a person, like the right to live.
Hold on one second. God damn it. Okay, there you go. Sorry about. So anyway, so I have a feeling that I hope you all heard that. But she did a good job narrating it. If this thing was from any other group, it would be fine. It's just that it's from Scientology. It's just like, when the oil companies are, ruining the coral reefs or whatever, and they're doing these wonderful things promoting the ecology and sea life, and you just know that it's a complete scam. It just really bugs us because of the hypocrisy. So anyway, but I'm not. I always thought that she was inspired by the Scientology's, stance, the stance that it takes publicly on human rights. But I tell you, it's a bunch of BS. At the beginning of Scientology events, they show these statistics, these outrageous, introduced, more people on Earth than there's more. They introduced new Scientology principles and new to I got to just slow down here a minute because this stuff just gets me steaming. So we would do these like 2-minute, they call them ads, but they're really just to show at an event to raise money, called How We Help. And it would show all of the quote unquote social betterment campaigns, the Way to Happiness, Youth for Human Rights, blah, blah, all of them, the applied scholastics, illiteracy stuff. And they'd give statistics. And so I remember after these Youth for Human Rights, these short little ads that they called PSAs, but they're not. Technically, they're not PSAs, in name only. So they had bought, I think it might have been in Chile or Brazil or Colombia, I don't know, some South American country. They paid for airtime on a cable outlet that has, let's say, 20 million subscribers. I'm just pulling that. I don't remember what the number was. It's a big number. And so they ran these ads on that cable network. And then they said, we got this message out to 20 million people. In other words, they counted every household without ever knowing how many households ever even had their TV on. So this is kind of a really typical way that they hyperbolize, is that a word? That they grossly exaggerate how they get these things out, because for all they know, nobody saw it. It was like a very short air buy. And they just, how many households are they plugged into? Oh, 20 million. Oh, we reached 20 million people. It's literally. So everything they do, Miscavige would always insist that it's based on something truthful. Yes, they did put it on a TV, and that network, that service does have 20 million households. Oh, great. Then we can say we reached 20 million people. See, you see what I'm saying? They never rarely ever make shit up out of whole cloth. And then you've got this big group of people that literally believe this, and they want to do good shit, and they want to help. And, they ain't helping. Okay, so Paintbox Tune says, I'm late, so a bit confused, but I remember an ex-Mormon I follow who's super anti-Ballard talking about her being in one of the promos and asking, who the F is this girl and why is she involved? Well, there you go. Tim Ballard is a member of the Church of the Latter-day Saints. And he is gotten a lot of trouble for being allegedly being, inappropriate with some of his employees who accused him of abuse. So that's interesting. I'm glad you verified that, because we can't find him now on her website, but that's what it is. She's like puts herself out as this anti-slavery Hollywood celebrity. She is a celebrity. She's not, anyways, that's I appreciate you doing that. Well, you shouldn't be confused anymore, because she's a Scientologist. She was married to a guy whose mother created the Youth for Human Rights campaign, and she has a foundation called, I don't know, whatever it was, World Without Slavery. So that's the reason, and I really appreciate it. Like Paintbox Tunes just verified for us that Marisol Nichols was involved with Tim Ballard, who was not a very liked person. I watched that movie, by the way, and it's anyway. I think it's got it's about a subject that needs a lot to be brought into the public's awareness, very much so. But I think the film really sensationalized it. Yeah, Paintbox Tune says hypocrisy is always wrong, in my opinion. And it's really, in the end, it's the hypocrisy that kills you. Because, like, if you look at this stuff and you just cut all the Scientology off of it, there's nothing wrong with it. It's like, these are perfectly fine messages. But when they're being used to show mostly at an event, and even if they put them on a cable station in some South American country, it's just to create a statistic that they can use in an event to raise money to further these campaigns. It's really... it's worse than it sounds. It says right here, it says, Love Food Kitchen, these videos don't have the Brisker magic. They're not quite the flashy razzmatazz I've come to expect from Scientology video these days. Well, this video is, and that's true. This video is 10 years older. So I probably tell, what is it? That would be 2014. Probably 2012. Yeah, it's probably 15, 16 years old. So, but Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, and I think that was a compliment, so I will accept it as such. Thank you. And Paintbox Student said, also, there's some legal principle in tort law to do with it being worse to stop the scene of an accident and not help than to drive past. It's it being worse to stop at the scene of an accident and not to help than to drive past. Reason it causes others who might have helped to pass. Yeah, I know there is what is it? The Good Samaritan law. There is apparently there are some protections for people who do stop. But yeah, it's a controversial thing, like whether or not how you help people. And Paintbox Student says, when Scientology makes out they help, it undermines the perception that help is needed. Yeah, this is really true. We spoke about this with regards to a lot of their messaging throws people off the actual thing that they really should be focusing on, like all of the lies that they put out about school shootings, mass shootings, that what underpins all of them is you have a perpetrator who is on psychiatric drugs who was recently in the care of psychiatrists. They blame the whole thing on psychiatry, and thereby they undermine any actual discussion of having rational gun control, because it's like, we it's not true that the more guns there are, the less crime there are. I mean, go to Japan, where it's like illegal to own a gun. I think they have less than 10 handgun murders a year, where America has thousands. I'm not saying it should be illegal to own a gun. You should absolutely be able to own a gun, but I think we need to strengthen background checks. I don't think anybody needs assault rifles. I think there's certain kinds of anything designed to specifically kill humans should be controlled. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel about it. Hey, Miss Amber Sunshine. Good to see you again. Okay, Paintbox Student says, if you want the video confirming her involvement, I can find it and email it to you. Please do. You can send it to Scientology The Big Lie at gmail.com, all one word. Thank you. Left Food Kitchen says it was a comment. Yeah, I know that. I was just messing with you. I appreciate you coining the phrase Brisker magic. This says, or like here in Australia. Yeah, so I guess it's a similar tort law in Australia. So that's basically the thing. That's what I got on that. That's what I got. And so I'm kind of, I didn't realize that it was, Human Trafficking and Slavery Prevention and Awareness Month. I had no idea, or I found this out accidentally. I don't know why. I'm going to put it in my calendar now, because it's every January, because we all who are trying to bring awareness about the legal issues and the abuse of Scientology. I mean, this is a perfect month to be bringing all of this stuff forward. Left Food Kitchen says, we all remember Tom Cruise saying that Scientologists are the only people who can help when they stop at a scene of an accident. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was amazing. And he was saying that. I wonder if he ever would have said that if he knew it was going to go out to the public, because the intention was to say that to other Scientologists. That thing was never intended to go to the public. The real reason, there's two reasons I believe in the Scientology mindset why a person would say that. For one, they very strongly believe that in a chaotic situation that they have been trained, and they have the sort of spiritual grounding to remain calm in a chaotic situation and to somehow sort out the chaos. There's a whole chapter in a book called The Problem of Work, called Confusion and the Stable Datum. And they believe they're the only ones that know how to get into a situation and recognize how to put stability into it. There's that. And then the other thing is, which is even more important, reason why Tom would say that or believe that that is true is because everybody in Scientology has bought this lie that there's such a thing as a reactive mind, which is a complete fabrication. Does not exist. Once you believe this, you are screwed. It's a bastardization of an old idea from the 50s that, you know, goes back even probably before that into the early days of psychotherapy, that there is this unknown part of the mind which is always recording and always there. And so therefore Scientologists believe they're the only ones who know. It's like the quiet birth thing. You're not only supposed to have quiet births, you're supposed to have quiet accidents. When people are unconscious or in pain, you need to be very quiet. You need to keep everybody calm. So I believe that's what Tom was thinking in his mind, because he believes that. And it's just absolutely true. But at the same time, you know, I don't want to say, is he a bad guy? Well, he may have done some bad things. There are some allegations against Tom Cruise of abuse that are horrific, and he needs to be held accountable for. And then just other the fact that abandoning his daughter, and, you know, getting his adopted kids pit against their adopted mother, and, you know, being estranged from his only biological child. I mean, this guy has got some complications in life. But I will say, when I visited the set of War of the Worlds, one of the crew told me, not a Scientologist, just one of Spielberg's people in the art department I was talking, and they were saying that when they were working in Virginia, they had stopped at and this is like the Scientologists, even Tom Cruise, like they have goodness. So many of them have goodness in their hearts, and they deserve our compassion, which is it drives me to want to expose all that information so they can know it and really make an informed decision about what they're doing. But a lot of these people, I do not dislike them. I actually have some compassion for them. But I was told this story where they stopped at a Dairy Queen, and I believe the person. They had no reason to gaslight me. They were just on the art crew, and there was somebody that works for Spielberg a lot. And they said, "Oh yeah, we stopped in," and this could be a great example of altruistic narcissism, but I kind of don't think so. But they stopped at a Dairy Queen somewhere in Virginia, and there was out in the country, and where they were shooting, and there was a basket on the counter, and one of the girls who worked at the Dairy Queen had had a horrible car accident, was in the hospital and unable to pay for her medical bills, and there was a couple of the girls who worked at the Dairy Queen who were her high school friends. So they were raising money. They put a basket there with a picture of her and asking for donations to help their friend. Tom went in, got whatever you get at Dairy Queen, and then sent somebody back later, and they dropped a check for $10,000 into the basket. So, the guy's not without compassion, and he did that. I think the one Miscavige isn't around, he's actually a much better person, but I'm not trying to be an apologist for Tom, because he does have things, as we all do, that we need to be held accountable for. But yeah, that's why I believe Tom said that. It had a lot to do with the same principle as a silent birth, that when you're at an accident, everybody needs to be quiet, because you are spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically damaging the person by putting negative commands into their subconscious, which will be triggered later. Like everybody's some kind of, North Korean, brainwashing victim or something. Like, according to Hubbard, every single person on earth is a ticking time bomb waiting for their reactive mind to just go, wow, and that'll have them, turn into a school shooter or something. It's just crazy. And so you better get some auditing. Lupita, hi. Nice. Thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it. And Miss Amber Sunshine says there is so much human trafficking in control groups and organized crime. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and the thing is, you don't see it when you're part of it, because I was at Gold. Did it ever occur to me that so many people up there are foreigners on R1 visas? No, it never occurred to me. Or so many foreigners are married to American citizens, like most of the foreigners get married to American citizens. All these kinds of things. Did it ever occur to me that when Miscavige built their apartments up there, what they refer to as birthing, sorry, I just had a funny thought, that it seemed really like everybody was so happy because the rooms they got were, other than the fact they didn't have kitchens, they couldn't have food in their rooms, they could only go to their rooms when they had permission to. If they had work to do, they were like, nope, you can't go home. So it appeared to, like, they were all crazy about it. They're like, oh, this is great. We can live on the base and we don't have to do the 20 minutes each way, the drive, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't realize it at the time. When you have a group of workers and you house them on the property, that's one of the things that raises suspicion about human trafficking. I do think, at least at Gold, they no longer confiscate passports because that can be highly illegal to move somebody from one country to another and then take their passport. I know that's done in sex trafficking and labor trafficking all the time. Because I remember not long before I left, because I started to get curious about all this stuff, I asked a person who was highly placed in their security HCO division. This person was like, I don't even know what their post was, but they had a sister. They were born in the Sea Org. Her sister was like a sec checker, and she was just like, her specialty was digging into people's phones and computers, and she used to write software to do it. But I asked her, I said, "Hey, do you guys keep your passports?" She said, "Oh yeah, we all have our passports." The HCO used to keep them, just so we didn't lose them. But no, we have them. I think they got wise to that. They were worried that the authorities would show up and start asking people about their passports. They realized it wasn't worth it. But I wouldn't be surprised at Flag, where, they're trafficking people from Europe and Africa and Eastern Europe. I wouldn't be surprised if at those places they keep their passports, because, that's like, and it's one other thing. It's one other thing I wanted to show you. I got to go back to Marisol's website. I hope I can find it. She does this. Here, let me just share this. I'm going to try to find it first. Hold on. Maybe I can find it. She does this breakdown on here of human trafficking, and it includes all of the things that Scientology does. They traffic. It literally lists all of the things, like, what do you call it? Like, people who work as gardeners, as maids in hospitality, in terms of labor trafficking. She breaks this all down, and it's like, I'm like, do you not realize when you go to Flag, you're being, your bed is being made by somebody who doesn't speak English, who was promised a job working for a church, and then, they're making $50 a week and their passports taken away from them. It's just crazy. Yeah, Paintbox Student says, thanks for the calm, but I'd rather have someone with first aid training. Yeah, no kidding. There's no connection between people making noises or talking around an unconscious person and this quote unquote fictitious thing called the reactive mind. Yeah, you absolutely want somebody there. I mean, sure, you want somebody to kind of, if there's a lot of chaos, you want somebody to get things organized. But I think this idea of, going around an accident and going, shh, don't make any noise, you'll ruin them, while somebody's lying there bleeding, it might not be the best thing. I tell you, this is kind of weird, but for me, one of the most troubling facts about the existence of the reactive mind is, this is a really weird story, but when we had to make this decision about circumcising our kids, because, my family's Jewish and it's kind of normal and it's kind of expected, but there's a big move to end that because it's just not a necessary thing. And I imagine it's a very painful thing, even when you're an infant, when they do it. And so I asked a bunch of auditors in Scientology if they ever had it, because I was thinking, I don't remember it. I don't remember that happening. I don't remember a painful experience. It never came up in my auditing. And you're auditing everything. You go back to, that time in your birth. And I asked numerous auditors, especially Dianetic auditors. Nobody had ever encountered that. So here you have this very painful operation that happens to infants, and yet nobody had ever brought this up as some trauma that they wanted to handle. And of course, Scientologists would tell you, well, that's because it's too deeply buried. But if it doesn't get handled, they're never going to make spiritual progress. Miss Amber Sunshine says, don't want to create any unnecessary engrams. Yeah, you mean engrams, but that's fine. Typo, as an accident scene. Oh my gosh, if I need medical help, please send me a firefighter. Yeah, absolutely. Send me a firefighter. Yeah, no, it's true, because you're actually creating engramic content. And I'm pretty sure that that's what Tom meant when he said, we're the only ones that can help. Peter Anderson, Tony Ortega did a post on his Substack back in 2017 pertaining to the R1 visa. Yeah, it's a pretty well-known thing. I mean, I knew tons of people up there that were on R1 visas. Like, okay, so I had this assistant, whole nother story, Sea Org member for years. I had a few of them, but she was, anyway, whatever. And they loved the job. That was one of the best jobs at Gold, was being my assistant, because you got all kinds of like privileges. And it's like, if I wanted to leave, I could take them with me and we could go to Starbucks and do all sorts of things, because I didn't have the same kind of restrictions. But they would forget that I was there, and that would be like a fly on the wall. So I saw a bunch of weird shit. But yeah, so like she is engaged to a guy, he's like German or Austrian. When I left there, last time I saw her, maybe 2020 or 2019, they'd been engaged for 9 years, and the org, Gold, would not approve their marriage because its statistics weren't high enough. At least that's what she kept saying when I said, how come you guys aren't married yet? You guys need to get married. And but I'll tell you something. If this guy was threatened, if his visa status was threatened and he had to go back to wherever he's from, they would have approved that marriage in a second. I guarantee you. And I put this in a video. Go watch it. It's the first video I ever did. It's called "I Did What for Scientology." It's a reaction video I did to a Gold video that I helped make, and I just decided to put it up as a featured video, because it's like, I've done a ton of content, but nobody's really ever seen it. And I went back and looked at some of it, and it's really interesting, especially today, with this community having mostly talking either about their objections to other people in the community or what other people in the community were up to. And I'm like, oh man, that's never going to become a movement. So anyway, I looked back at it and I was like, wow, please, I urge you, if you've not explored some of the content on there, take a look at it. But in this one titled "The True Story of Scientology's In-House Production Studio," and on the thumbnail, it says, "What I did what for Scientology?" I have a thing in there where one of the people being interviewed says, we're very international. We're from all over the world. Yeah, of course you are. And you're all like sent there on R1 visas. Probably everybody up there, all the foreigners, they come in R1 visas, they find an American and they get married. Okay. So yeah, thanks for that, Pete. But yeah, the R1 visa thing, that's another, that policy in and of itself may change, and that's really going to hurt Scientology, because they move people around using those visas. They, which is like, and I think this has been reported, but how do you justify trafficking a person from Eastern Europe who doesn't speak English and then handing them a lawnmower and saying that they're a religious worker? It's just a total scam. Okay, Matthias Bartle. Hi, Matthias. I hope you're subscribed. I would really appreciate it if you were. He says, I don't know if keeping people's passports can be construed as a religious observance. That is, I think, a high level of irony or sarcasm, because obviously it can't. Pete Anderson says, did any R1 visa holders get moved to other bases? I don't know. I mean, I don't know that that's really a relevant question, because once they're, yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm sure that the people who I met at Gold on R1 visas, they were somebody else, somewhere else at some other base first. So I don't know if it was in America or whatever. But the key thing is that they're being moved. Okay, good. So let me make sure I got everything here. I think I did. Okay, guys, couple of things. So as you know, if you saw some of my recent content, I did a thing yesterday about Emily Jones, who I believe is being held captive at ASI, and I'm trying to, I'm organizing a demonstration. We want to do it sometime. I'm not going to say when, but when a certain individual, I'm pretty sure, is going to be in town. And I think this could be a very important thing. It's going to cost some money to do it. I'll figure that out, because I'm going to get a permit. It's going to be totally legit. And I'm not sure what that's going to cost. I might do it as a film permit because we'll be filming it, and it could be done under the auspices of being part of a documentary. And a film permit gives you a little bit more leeway. But I don't think, you can even hire police. Like if I could raise the funds, I would actually hire a couple of police. So that it doesn't, if they call the police are just going to come and see the police, and the police are going to say, well, we're just shooting here. We have a permit. It's totally legal, and we have signs. They're props, but we're actually documenting a real situation. And, they talk about Emily Jones. They talk about, that ASI, it presents itself as a literary agency for fiction work, but it's the belly of the beast of Scientology, which is why you don't hear about it. They have a decoy down the street, the test center, the Scientology Information Center. Everybody goes down there and protests, but it's just like a decoy. As long as it's there, I mean, nobody's ever been recruited through the test center. And I know that because I helped set it up. It's there to show the IRS, look, we exist for the public good. So they don't, I seriously doubt, Miscavige is right down the street. You can see the whole thing happening. I seriously doubt he cares that that it got shut down, but it did serve to create some really negative press in the public for them. And that's absolutely a good thing. But my point of bringing this up is that I think I should do memberships. You guys tell me, because if anybody would like to contribute to this, it's going to cost a little bit of money. I don't have a lot of extra funds right now. It costs money to do this. So I might sell memberships, but if you guys have any suggestions on how we could do this, there's ways any money that comes to this channel will go to support the channel or to support demonstrations. Because I think we can work out the timing pretty close of when Miscavige is in LA and aim something directly at him that he would be aware of, so that they don't feel, because they look at their window and go, oh, the nutcases are down in L. Hubbard Way or something. They don't care. They have tunnels that people can go across the street using the utility. They're just utility tunnels. I've been in those tunnels. They're just, they use them for storage and electrical. There's plumbing and electrical stuff. There's nothing nefarious about them. So it's just not a big deal. And yet he's hanging out. Miscavige is either at ASI on Wyndham Hollywood Boulevard, or he's at Scientology Media Productions. On the other end of Hollywood Boulevard is actually on Sunset Boulevard, just past where Hollywood and Sunset intersect. And, all of the activity that goes on protest-wise, and it happens in between. And I know Dan Walks LA, we chatted yesterday. I watched his stream. I wasn't really aware of him because I don't have time to watch everything. And he's really funny and entertaining. And, he's a never-end who seems to really care about making a statement about Scientology. And he does. No, he goes down to Able and ASI and then, walks all the way down Hollywood Boulevard, which is great. So he reached out to me. He definitely wants to be involved. And I'm thinking I might go do one of his walks with him, because that would just be fun. I love Hollywood Boulevard. I grew up here, even though, it's changed a lot. It's really seedy. Yeah, Cass says would be amazing if Phil could come too. Yeah, I've been in emailing with Phil, but he doesn't live in LA. I don't know if he could make it, but there'll be enough advance warning on the announcement on the thing that hopefully Phil could come. I know that he's been there before. He told me he's protested there before. They called the cops. There's people that put flyers about Emily Jones down there. So I just think we need to just keep the heat going, because I think all of this stuff outwardly does great, has a tremendous impact on reducing Scientology's public relations image. But when it comes to people you really want to shake to the bone, it's the upper management, the top people like Miscavige. The other people are just indoctrinated. All of these staff members, who work at the test center, they're just indoctrinated to think you're crazy. That's all. You're just living proof that the world is dangerous and they should keep doing what they're doing. But the guys upstairs that really know it's a problem, we need to hit them. And so that's okay. So Cass says, Dan, yeah, he's a really funny guy. He's really, he cracks me up. I really genuinely, I watched about an hour of his stream yesterday walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and I couldn't help it. I kept saying things, and he really engaged me in his walk. And I thought I liked it. Yeah. He did reach out to me, and I haven't proposed that to him yet, but I'm going to tell him, look, tell me next time you're walking down Hollywood, I'm just going to come down with my dog and we'll just walk down, because there's also a lot of lore on Hollywood Boulevard that I know all about because I grew up here, and it's kind of interesting. We could do I think a little more in-depth tour. Like, I know he was looking at the Help across the street from the HGB middle management sign, the building on Hollywood Boulevard with a big yellow Scientology sign. Across the street is the Hollywood Educational Literacy Program, which was originally funded by Tom Cruise. I mean, that was a Tom Cruise project. He paid for that whole thing. And I put in the text in the chat that building, the address where that is, the upper second floor, which they use, that used to be Bruce Lee's studio. So there's a lot of little, like, Hollywood Homes of the Stars things that I could provide. And I think that would just be a lot of fun because, at the end of the day, you can do this, you can make a little cash to pay for it, and you can have fun. And I think that's one of the things that we learned from the protesters, because we might have learned that a little from Anonymous. So yeah, I'm going to reach out to Dan. I'm going to send him an email today. Hopefully he's got an email on his channel, and see if we can't work that out. And this is Cass says, I'm sure the movement could fundraise to make it happen. Yeah, let's see. But I was thinking, leave a comment, like ways you think, should I do memberships? Should I, whatever, sell a bunch of books with signature? I don't know. It's going to take a little bit of money, and it'll take me a little while to save it. And I want to but most importantly, I want to just collect people's contacts, legitimately, just an email address, send me a burner email address. I don't care. Everybody has one, just so we can get a number of, we can try to work out the best day. We can get a calculation of the number of people, which is important for getting a permit, and just like really legitimately do it. And so that's pretty much the deal. We hit the sweet spot of an hour. Again, I so appreciate you guys coming here and just being willing to bear witness to my spewing all this stuff, because I feel I think it's necessary to do it. It's just like I don't know how else to say it. It's what I'm here doing. It's why I wrote a book. So anyway, Love Food Kitchen says, I still remember that ages ago you offered to give us viewers tours when we were in LA. And despite living there myself for a minute, I fully intend to hold you to that completely. And anybody, and I've also said anybody who, I have where is it here? Let me just put it up. I have a banner here. Support my journey to hold Scientology accountable. buymeacoffee.com / Mitch Brisker. And I've always said that if anybody who's bought me a coffee who shows up in LA, I'll buy you a real coffee on the Starbucks on Hollywood Boulevard across from Author Services, and we'll have a walk. I mean, I get this all the time. Friends come in, they've never been to LA, they want a tour. There's not a lot that's happened in LA in the last, I don't know, long time, even before I was born, that I don't know about or know the address or the location of. It's just, it's what happens. It's like hometown stuff. It's not, I'm not even bragging. It's really funny when I was living in Studio City, maybe I still do. Oh, so you don't know where I am. But I was living near Mulholland. I was maybe half a mile from Mulholland, Laurel Canyon, up a very steep hill. I'd walk up there every day with my dog, and then we'd walk about a mile and walk down, but whatever. So most of the months of the year, they have these tour buses, which they pick people up on Hollywood Boulevard and they give them these tours. And so at the top of the street, we're at the corner of Mulholland and Donna Pagita, I think it is. There's a really nice house with a beautiful view, very secluded, kind of walled, ivied, and every once in a while, the tour guide, they would be. I have pictures. I'll find them and show you. The tour guide buses would be stopped, and you could hear them. And the person giving the tour, they always had an accent. It was Eastern European or some. They were always like immigrants who were given jobs in school. And I'm not down on immigrants. I'm just saying that it wasn't people that were legitimately knew a lot. They were sort of reading up a script. And the guy said, I'm really bad at accents, but I hear them because they stop. And so I heard him say, this is Bruno Mars' first home. I was like, Bruno Mars? And I'm thinking, no, that's not his first home because he was born in Hawaii and that would have been his first home. But, did Bruno Mars ever live there? I didn't even know, but I always kind of assumed, probably because when I was in film school, I had friends who over the summers would do tours to make money and they would just make shit up. Literally, I went on their tour with them one day and one of them was like, oh yeah, that's Loretta Young's house. And the other one was like, I tell them it was Bing Crosby's or whatever. So I think most of these tours, they just make shit up, but I don't even know how I got into that, but yeah, the tours. Yeah. We'll go on a tour. If enough of you show up, we'll rent a van, we'll go do it. What do you want to see? You want to see where, I don't know, we go out to Mulholland. Oh God. I mean, out to Malibu. What a horrible thought. When I'm thinking about the condition that it's in. There's an honor farm in Malibu, a low security prison where Robert Mitchum was incarcerated as a young actor because he got busted for weed. And he very famously is quoted as saying when he walked out, the press was there. And they asked him, Mr. Mitchum, how was it in there? And he very famously said it was like Palm Springs without the riffraff. That might be a boomer joke. But anyway, hold on one second. Miss Amber Sunshine says, love you, Mitch. Love you, Winston. Weston. It's actually Weston, but that's okay. It's Weston. His name was inspired by the photographer Edward Weston, who was a big influence on me. Hey, Weston, come here. Come here. People are like talking about you. Yeah, he's a great guy. But thank you very much for that. Kaz says, maybe a GoFundMe? I really am not sure about this sort of thing. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, okay. So, but keep in mind, any support you give to this channel goes for things like that. That is kind of my first big foray into organizing something. And, I know there's a little bit of coverage on places like Scientology Media Productions and Author Services, but God damn it, this is where Miscavige is. I've seen streams from Clearwater hunting for David Miscavige. We can figure out exactly where he is because he's got to be at, one of those two places around the time when they're doing the March 13th event. And that would be now. Like those events are, usually done a week ahead. I mean, they finish them sometimes a little bit late. Cass says, Tori would be in for a picket too, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure Tori would do it. I'll ask her. Actually, before I even started talking about this, I should have talked to Tori because sometimes I go up half-cocked and then I'll hear from Tori and she's like, well, I don't know that that's a good idea. But anyway, I'm curious what she has to say about it. Plus I don't know about doing a GoFundMe because I don't want to make too big about a deal about this online because of OSA. Yeah, also Paintbox Tune says it's a tricky time to fundraise with all the people who've lost stuff in the fires. Yeah, no, that's a good point. This is not a good time to be fundraising when so many people need funds. Okay, good. So that's the idea. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this. I wanted people to be aware that, the thumbnail I made for this stream, it referred to Marisol Nichols as being Scientology's #1 fake, activist, but she's really Scientology's #1 most hypocritic. I'm not going to go back and change the thumbnail, but it's really not about her being fake because her anti-slavery work is pretty legit, I believe. It's just the fact that she's enables this human trafficking organization while at the same time, being an activist in human trafficking, sex trafficking. So anyway, Cass says, thanks, Mitch. You're very welcome. Okay, so we're going to get on with our day right now. I just passed the sweet spot of 1 hour. Again, thank you so much for showing up here and being willing to bear witness to everything that I have to say. It really means a great deal. You guys have a wonderful day. Hey guys, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps with the algorithm so that videos like this can reach a broader audience. And be sure to hit that notification bell so that you'll be informed when new videos drop. For additional ways to support this channel, please click on the link tree on the Scientology The Big Lie channel page. This work is only made possible with your support. Thank you.